To many city dwellers, the word lake conjures up visions of placid waters, of boats with semi-recumbent revelers, of the other paraphernalia of tourist resorts, all backed up by an appropriately scenic, non-threatening, completely placid background. The Dal Lake, the Naini Lake, and this, the Renuka Lake near Nahan.
All these lakes are found between the 3,000 and 7,000 foot levels.
Beyond the common perception lie the true great Himalayan lakes, most of them located beyond the main range in the Trans-Himalayan region, where at high altitudes the lie of the land is easier.
The great lakes of Ladakh, Tso Morari and Pangong Tso, almost like inland seas. The highest of them all, Guru Dogmar in North Sikkim, at an altitude of 17,600 feet above sea level. And the jewel-like Chandratal in Lahore. One of the most classically beautiful of all Himalayan lakes is the Chandratal in Lahol's upper Chandra Valley. Aptly called the Lake of the Moon, it lies in a broad turquoise crescent along the flank of the great Himalayan range itself, surrounded by the high peaks of the Chandrabhaga and the Mulkila massifs. Situated at a breathtaking 15,500 feet above sea level, the lake itself was probably formed at the end of the last ice age, when the glaciers retreated, leaving behind considerable dead ice masses, which on melting formed large lakes.
Other Trans-Himalayan lakes, like Pangong and Tso Morari, saw similar beginnings. Most of these lakes had no outlets. Then, over time, the huge amounts of water that were present at the beginning evaporated in the desert-like atmosphere, and what was initially fresh water gradually became brackish and then finally salty.
From the salt beds that were thus formed, the Ladakhis and the Tibetans have been able to obtain valuable salt that they traditionally used as a marketable product and as a bartering currency. In fact, geologists have speculated that in the remote geological past, These lakes were vast inland seas. That many have since completely dried up or vanished is evident from old strand lines where the water level once stood, marking time periods rather like the rings of a tree. One of the most impressive, the highest situated of the Ladakhi Gompas, Lamayuru, is said to stand at the site of an ancient lake as testified to by the presence of its horizontal lake sediment. Local legend also testifies as to the existence of a lake at this place, geologically more than 25,000 years ago. One can clearly recognize the point where the waters boiled out towards the valley, 2,000 feet below. The greatest lake in the Indian Himalayas is undoubtedly the Pangong Tso. At an altitude of almost 4,500 meters, the Pangong Tso, across the Changla Pass from Leh, is only 8 kilometers wide at its broadest, but an amazing 134 kilometers long, bisected by the international border between India and Tibet. Most of the freshwater inlets into the lake are towards the Tibetan end. A unique hydrological divide lies on this ridge, the watershed between the Pangong Tso and the Indian Ocean. South of this point, the waters merge with the Shyok or the other tributaries of the Indus River system and ultimately flow into the Indian Ocean. North, the water is doomed to be confined to the Pangong until freed by evaporation. Pangong Tso, bathed in the varying light of the day, is a memorable spectacle. The golden-colored range to the north, with its rolling spurs culminating in chiseled peaks, spreads before your eyes a panorama of gigantic dimensions. With its almost 2,000 square kilometers of turquoise water and a depth of 100 meters, Pangong can baffle the eye, for in the rarefied atmosphere, distant objects appear right next door. Accentuating the illusion of being on the shores of a sea are the wind-tossed waves. A storm on the Pangong Tso can approach frightening dimensions. On the windward side of the Great Range, lakes occur at all altitudes up to 17,000 feet, getting progressively smaller the higher they go. In fact, in the higher reaches they are often morainic pools, styled as lakes because they are pilgrim destinations. Manimahesh Lake in Upper Chamba is one such destination, overlooked by the lone pyramid of Kailash, Manimahesh itself. Such lakes draw their waters from the melting of glacial ice. Surajtal at the famed Baralacha Pass draws its waters from the snowmelt on the surrounding ridges. Geologically, Surajtal occupies a glacial depression, probably ground down by the ice during the last Himalayan ice age. Then, there are what can be termed mountain tarns, small lakes in the higher altitudes formed by the glacial activity of the remote past. These are mostly on the crest of the Pir Panjal range and extend all the way across to the upper Beas. This is Biaskund, a source of the river Beas, and like most high Himalayan lakes, a site of pilgrimage for local peoples. The emergence of the Himalayas through the seas left behind many residual lakes, which have long since vanished, leaving behind only their sediments as pages in a grand geological textbook. The largest of these in the Himalayas was undoubtedly the Great Lake of Kashmir, known to geologists as Karewa, formed when the Jhelum River was blocked by the rising Himalaya. When the Karewa drained, the Wular, the largest freshwater lake in the Himalayas, was left behind. It is in the Kumaon Himalaya that many middle-altitude lakes are found, though quite a few have fallen victim to large-scale pollution of the environs, as we see in today's Eco-Watch. Lakes of the middle and lower altitudes, as in Kumaon, have suffered the effects of environmental degradation for decades now. Lakes such as Nainital, Beental, etc., because of their accessible location, have become classic examples of the total degradation of God-given resources by human callousness. Reduced oxygen content, high levels of nitrogen and phosphorus make the water unsafe for human contact and are rapidly depleting the lake's carp population, an interloper itself. The eerie green color of the lake is due to the presence of microorganisms extremely dependent on sunlight. Cloud cover for a few hours kills them off and changes the color of the lake.
The story is somewhat different with the lower altitude lakes of Himachal, such as the Renuka Lake at Sirmaur. But easy access, sylvan surroundings, the added attraction of a pilgrim destination at the Renuka Ji temple are all adding to the pollution hazard at this lake, but as yet nowhere on a scale with Nainital. The classic example of environmental degradation in a Himalayan lake ecosystem is the Dal Lake in Srinagar. Most of the lakes of Kashmir are remnants of ancient oxbows
created by the river Jhelum as it meanders across the valley floor. And the present lakes are shrunken remnants of their past selves. The Wular is a ghost of its former self, and the Dal Lake too, for example, has shrunk in the past 50 years to half its size, from 22 to 11 square kilometers. In the intervening years, the lake has changed in other fashions too.
The process known as eutrophication has set in. Eutrophication results when the lake waters become artificially enriched and even engorged with nutrients, causing abnormal plant growth. The runoff of chemical fertilizers from the vast drainage basin around the lake, sewage, and other oxygen-demanding wastes, which bring in 15 tons of phosphorus and 300 tons of nitrogen every year, are putting the lake's internal life processes under severe stress. Oxygen is depleted, the fish die out, and even to the eye the effect is not pleasing. Disagreeable odors arise from decaying organic matter, and the eye is offended with green scums of algae and weed-infested waterways.
Lakes have vanished in the Himalayan regions too. In recent times, small lakes like this one in Nainital have disappeared mainly due to increasing siltation and the buildup of organic and inorganic refuse. In fact, most lakes in the lower Himalayas are in varying stages of an ecological crisis. Others vanished before the dawn of recorded history. The Busbar Valley in Kinnaur, according to local legend, was once a lake, and the flatness of the valley seems to bear this out. Soon, a major hydel project will make large parts of this a lake again. As when a river is dammed, naturally or by man, this is the lake formed by the Salal Dam on the Salal River near Jammu. The damming of the Ravi at Chamera downstream of Chamba has also created a huge lake. However, lakes do not only vanish, sometimes they are created. The average city dweller's obsession with romantic lakes has led to the declaration of all sorts of water sheets as lakes, such as has happened at Khajiar in Himachal Pradesh, where overzealous tourism promotion efforts created a lake. A boggy center of the Khajiar meadows, the natural drainage point for the bowl-shaped glade, is projected through advertising as a lake. A rickety approach was made so that tourists can have a look, and boating was introduced in this reed-infested 150-meter-long swamp, and only discontinued when a hapless tourist drowned. Now you can witness another bizarre scheme to increase the area of this so-called lake by dredging.
Occupying a high-altitude glacial depression at 15,000 feet is the magnificent Somorari Lake, sitting atop the Rupshu Plateau of eastern Ladakh. A legendary lake stretching 30 kilometers long, perhaps 7 to 10 kilometers wide along its length. It's situated upon a high, windswept plain, occupied at most by the hardiest nomads in the world, and surrounded on all sides by towering peaks. The lake itself serves as a giant drainage basin for these towering eminences, and the waters are therefore brackish, for there is no outlet.
Bitterly cold all year round, and breathtakingly so in winter when we filmed this. For the geologist, the lake offers an added attraction. Its banks are thickly lined with sediments of the long-gone Tethyan Ocean. Somorari has only recently opened up for tourists, and vehicles can now divert from the main Manali-Leh highway or from the Indus Valley at Mahe. Though the number is as yet small enough not to cause worry, just a few vehicles a day in season, the potential for problems is there if tourism operators give it their customary hard sell abroad. The area is home to the Changspa nomads, whose flocks produce the famous pashmina wool. Living in heavy yak hair tents, the only kind which can give sustained protection against the kind of winds the area sees, these nomads inhabit one of the harshest terrains on Earth. The Demoiselle cranes do an epic 7,000-mile journey as they voyage from the Mongolian steppes across the Nepal Himalaya. Large water bodies constitute an irresistible attraction for many species of birds, some having migrated over large distances. For some, the Himalayan lakes are mere stopping points for their ultimate wintering sites in peninsular India. Most Himalayan lakes are very rich in a variety of fish. In Kumaon, mahseer is the indigenous inhabitant along with the snow trout, though the population of these have dwindled greatly over the years. In polluted waters like Nainital, they have reached the verge of extinction, aided by niche encroachment by the mirror carp, a transplanted exotic fish. The fish production of these lakes could be vastly increased by adopting a scientific policy of stocking appropriate fish species in order to utilize the vacant ecological niches of the lake.